Hello, I am John Perkins, author, speaker, and former economic hitman. My journey through the corridors of global finance and geopolitics has given me a unique perspective on the systems that shape our world. Today, I'd like to discuss a realization I came to during my work. I had begun to understand that although most Americans have no idea that lifestyles are built on exploitation, millions of people in other countries are aware of it. This quote reflects my awakening to the harsh realities of a global system that sustains prosperity for some at the cost of hardship for many. It's a truth that became evident to me as I traveled to countries whose resources and labor were siphoned to fuel the consumerism and wealth of more privileged nations. How it applied in my time and to me. During my career, I worked with corporations and governments whose policies perpetuated a cycle of debt and dependency in developing nations. Loans would be given to fund infrastructure projects, dams, roads, and power plants, ostensibly to help these nations grow. But the reality was far darker. These projects primarily benefited the corporations that built them and the elites in these countries who profited from their contracts. Meanwhile, the nations themselves were saddled with debt so immense they could never repay it. This debt ensured they remained subservient, forced to prioritize resource extraction and trade policies that catered to the lenders rather than their own people. Most Americans, enjoying the fruits of this system, were blissfully unaware of the suffering it caused. But for those on the receiving end, in countries across Latin America, Africa, and Asia, the exploitation was painfully clear. They saw their land, labor, and natural wealth being extracted to maintain the lifestyles of people oceans away. How it applies, now and to us fast forward to today, and the dynamics of exploitation have not disappeared. They've evolved. Supply chains stretch across the globe, connecting consumers to goods produced in conditions that often mirror modern slavery. From the garment factories of Southeast Asia to the rare earth mines of Africa, the labor that fuels our smartphones, fast fashion, and convenience is hidden behind layers of abstraction. While many Americans may now be aware of global inequality, there's still a disconnect between this awareness and action. Meanwhile, the gap between the privileged and the exploited grows wider. The same mechanisms of debt and dependency that once targeted nations now ensnare individuals. Predatory lending, unfair labor practices, and the monopolization of resources are just as prevalent in our own backyards as they are abroad. The question remains, how do we bridge the gap between awareness and accountability? A call to reflect and act. This quote serves as both a reminder and a challenge. It reminds us that the comfort of some is often built on the sacrifices of others, and it challenges us to question the systems that perpetuate this imbalance. In a world more connected than ever, ignorance is no longer an excuse. We must ask ourselves, what kind of future do we want to build, and how can we ensure that it's grounded in fairness, dignity, and sustainability? The first step is awareness, but awareness must lead to action. Support ethical businesses. Advocate for policies that prioritize human rights over profit. Demand transparency in supply chains and accountability from corporations and governments. The world is watching, and we have the power to change it. Thank you for taking the time to reflect on these important issues with me. For more insights into how the systems of power shape our lives and the world, follow information-warfare.com. Together, we can uncover the truths that matter and work toward a more equitable future. Stay informed, stay empowered, stay vigilant.